And we'll start out by showing that on the sheet here I've drawn two what we call staffs. A musical staff consists of 5 horizontal lines, and then here's the second one, 5 horizontal lines. And when you look at a sheet of music, you'll also see at the left-hand side, you'll see a double bar. And you'll see that at the left-hand side of the sheet and the right-hand side of the sheet. Double bar. We'll talk about what those mean later. And you'll also see a treble clef. And we'll talk about what that means later. And you might see a time signature, in this case 4/4, and we'll talk about what that means later. But for the very beginning, we are going to talk about the most basic scale, and that is the scale in the key of C. The scale in the key of C has 8 notes, and I am going to draw them for you. The first note in the C scale is shown by a colored in oval, and I've drawn in a line below that line because that note is actually lower in pitch than those 5 lines there. So that's actually called a ledger line. You don't really need to know that right now to play. And then the second note of the scale would be up with the top of the oval just touching the bottom line. And I'll just go ahead and draw these notes in, and I'll go into more detail. And so what I've just drawn is, I've drawn in a C scale. This is a C scale, and this is going to be the first scale I'd like you to learn. I'd like you to learn how to play it, and I'd like you to learn how to identify that on a sheet of music. And when you look at a sheet of music, you won't just see these ovals like that, but a lot of times you'll see some kind of a line on here. And there's different kinds of lines on these notes that give these different time values, but we'll talk about that later. But the important thing I'd like you to learn right now is that in my numbering system, that below the staff, and again I'll just write down here that that's the staff. Below that staff, always be thinking of the string number for my purposes of this exercise, the string number, and up above would be the fret number. The fret number. And again, the frets are if you recall the exercise number 2 where we were playing on each string, frets 1, 2, 3, 4, those are the fret numbers. So to play a C scale, this first note here would be played on the 5th string. So I'm going to write a 5 below that note. And it would be played on the 3rd fret. The 3rd fret. So if you would take your guitar, hit a note on the 5th string with your finger, your 3rd finger on the 3rd fret, that would be playing that note. The second note would be played on the 4th string, and that would be played in the open, so there would be a 0 there. You are not putting any fingers down on that 4th string. The third would be on the 4th string, the 2nd fret, the 4th string, the 3rd fret, the 3rd string, in the open position, in other words, not fretting any notes down. The next note would be on the 3rd string, 2nd fret, 2nd string, open position, that's the 2nd string, no fret, and then the last note would be on the 2nd string, 1st fret. So what you have there, that is the essence of your first step of learning how to play the guitar. What I'd like you to do is I would like you to do 2 things. I would like you to, first of all, I would like you to become familiar with, study this, take notes, learn visually when you are looking at a staff and you are looking at these notes, where they fall on those lines or spaces. And then secondly is to start looking at the numbers of the strings and the numbers of the frets, and eventually what will happen is that you will memorize how to position those notes on your guitar without writing down string numbers or fret numbers.